and Priyanka Chopra have been making waves with their Hollywood ventures, but despite their success, Deepika Padukone has complained now that she is often mistaken for her compatriot Priyanka Chopra, although the two look very different. Miffed at repeatedly being mistaken for Priyanka Chopra by the media abroad, Deepika has come out and lashed the media. Take a look.
She is a global icon now. She broke barriers and is receiving fame worldwide. Still, she has to grapple with prejudice, often mistaken and insulted by American paparazzi. Deepika decided to speak against it.
It's not just about me being offended. Every single one of you in this room should be offended, because it's not just ignorance, but it's also racist. Two people of similar color are being offended. Every single one of you in this room should be offended, because it's not just ignorance, but it's also racist. Two people of similar color are not the same people. And so as you as fellow Indians should actually be calling them out and educating them instead of, encouraging it.
First ahead of Oscars, then during XXX promotions. Look at the way Deepika was insulted.
Hello, Priyanka. Priyanka?
With Indians rallying behind the rising global icon, Priyanka Chopra too slammed it as an unfair treatment. Indians run Google and Microsoft, but are we just desis for the foreign media? Bureau Report, NewsX.
All right, we'll open up our phone lines. You can call us and let us know what you think of Priyanka's complaint there. There can be many ways, really, to look at it. And, of course, I'm going to elucidate how other people might be looking at it. Priyanka Chopra fans, as well as Deepika Padukone fans, might not like what I'm going to say right now. But I'll hold off for that. Let's go across first to my colleague Shanta Shri, who joins us from the newsroom. Deepika seems to believe, Shanta Shri, that the only reason why someone can mistake her for Priyanka Chopra is because they're both brown. That seems to be racist in her mind. What exactly has happened? Has this happened to her more than once?
Of course, Atha, this is not the first time that she had been hounded by the American paparazzi. Rather, during her Oscar, just ahead of Oscars and also during the promotions of XXX, which she recently did, this is kind of a window to become a global icon. And she was hounded, she was harassed by these paparazzis by calling her name repeatedly wrong, like she was called out as Priyanka. So this is somebody's identity which is at stake, and somebody who got offended, but this is for the first time that Deepika had come out and raised this pertinent issue and has spoken against it, that this is not just ignorance, but this is racism. And this is also just because those two global icons right now, they are of the same color, they are targeted of mistaken identity. So that's something that he has been upfront and spoken about it. And also, yeah.
All right, Shanta, you stay with us. We're also being joined now by Priya Malik. She's an actor. She joins us from Mumbai. Also with us will be Leher Sethi. She joins us via Skype from Gurgaon. Priya Malik, do you believe Deepika Padukone, who says and has called out racism as far as paparazzi following her or media is concerned? Look, I understand Hollywood is a very, very strange place. Now, the biggest of the biggest stars in Hollywood do not last very long. And the fact still is, Priyanka Chopra is a bigger star in Hollywood than Deepika Padukone. Could it be that the fact that Deepika Padukone is relatively unknown still, despite a bit part in one Hollywood movie, while Priyanka Chopra beams into American homes almost every day because she's a soap star there as well. She has a bigger movie under her kitty as well. Do you believe that could have been the reason? Because Deepika Padukone has just started her Hollywood campaign. It's not necessary that every paparazzo in the country or everyone would know necessarily who she is.
I would like to point out that this is not the first time the Hollywood press has mistaken brown people to be the same. Very recently at the BAFTA Awards, there was a tweet by Burberry where they thought Dev Patel was Riz Ahmed. They've both been in the country for a long time, and they're both stars in their own right. So I think it would be unfair to say that their career progression has anything to do with the fact.
So you're
it
clearly
is
saying this
largely
has got to
ignorance,
do with the
definitely.
ignorance of the media or the general population as a whole.
Oh, indeed,
Doesn't
indeed.
happen with brown
There is-
people. It happens with black people all the time.
Oh, indeed. Black people, it happens with the Chinese, it happens with Asians, it happens in Australia. I've lived there, and I know that often two brown people have been confused by the media. Psychologically speaking, as far as my knowledge of psychology goes, this can be attributed to something that people call the other race effect, which means that our minds are perpetually designed because we spend so much time with people of our own race that we fail to find the distinguishing features of other races. But we are in 2017. You are the media, you are the press. By now, you should be not only accustomed to people of different races, but also be right in terms of attribution. So
that,
there
of course, is the
ignorance,
idealist
there is
position to take.
racism,
I
and
understand. Priya Malik, and I agree with you. If you're being politically correct, you should not mix up two different individuals and call them by each other's name, no matter how little you know about them. That's the idealistic position to take. But America, as we know, is not a perfect country. Race relations in that country are far from perfect, despite having a black president. Race relations are bubbling under the surface. And we'll come back to what you're saying right now. I also want to go quickly across to our callers calling in right now from Chennai. RVR Murthy is our first caller. Mr. Murthy, go ahead, please.
Good evening. The word Deepika Padukone has used is a very, very big word, calling racism. See, it's a mistaken identity. They have not called any other actress from any other country. It is only, they have called Priyanka Chopra. We have to be happy. It is from our Indian actress only. And insult, racism, let them not use big words. We are in a foreign country. It may be a mistaken identity. She can say it can happen once, twice. Even in our country, if she goes to the village, someone will call her some other name. That doesn't mean it is racism. Racism is a very big word in a foreign country.
Mr. Murthy, I do see what you're saying, and there are many like you who perhaps would say it's not intended racism, although racism exists. It's well and alive, especially in the US and many other countries that are predominantly white. We cannot discount that fact either. Now, Leher Sethi is with us as well. Leher, what's your take on this? Deepika Padukone is making a point which I partially agree with. There is a lot to be done as far as getting the media or populations in predominantly white countries to be sensitive to people of color, and brown people do come under people of color. But what's your take on this?
I personally feel that it's something that's been blown a little bit out of proportion here. I mean, yes, it does seem like a case of mistaken identity. It could also have a purpose of, maybe racism. Outside it say that, all American press or the foreign press is being ignorant and it's being racist is, I think, a very, very extreme statement to make.
Okay, fair enough. So you're saying it's being blown perhaps slightly out of proportion, and I can really quote some instances to support that argument. Now, Priya, I'm coming to you right now, but let's just look through how many well-known Indian actresses have really made it big in Hollywood for the past 50 years. Persis Kambata was one in the 60s and the 70s. After that, perhaps it was only Frida, I forgot her name. What's her name? Frida Pinto, I believe. And now Priyanka Chopra and Deepika Padukone. Now, could it be perhaps that because there is a paucity of well-known Indian actresses or brown actresses who are not Indian in the industry,
now look,
people could have made a mistake? Priya first, and I'll come back to you later.
You made a little...
I think it is very easy to say that it has been blown out of proportion, but let me tell you that only the wearer knows where the shoe really pinches. When it happens to you and you're in a foreign country, you're an established actress, and you do expect some credibility from media. If you
but Priya, she's not an established actress in Hollywood.
And
Hollywood doesn't really represent talent. It represents temperature.
She's just done a big film. She's just delivered
with a bit
super hit.
part in it.
That does. I don't think career progression Okay, what about Riz Ahmed and Dave Patel?
There you go. I can completely say that wasn't racism. That was just ignorance. There is a difference between racism, outright racism, and outright ignorance.
Racism is ignorance.
Part of it is, but you cannot call every ignorant person racist. No, Priya, tell me one thing. Can you call every ignorant person racist? You can't.
When you're ignorant of the other race, you inherently do become racist, because that's the fear of something different, or ignorance breeds intolerance, and that's how racism begins. So I think the underlying factor of any racist behavior or racist attack is actually ignorance in the first place.
Understood.
When people are more aware and people are more educated,
I agree with that point, Priya. But
so,
my only
so
concern is
the whole
this.
underlying factor of racism.
No, I'm not denying there is rampant racism in the US. There is, we get evidence of it almost every day.
Sure.
Perhaps Hollywood is the least racist, but I'm sure there are racists there as well. I'm not denying that. All I'm saying is, if somebody mistakes you for another actor from the same country with a similar background, they're both very glamorous women, can you right away jump to the another actor from the same country with a similar background, they're both very glamorous women, can you right away jump to the R word and say racist, not ignorant, just plain racist?
But how many times? This is not the first time this has happened. I was reading in the news about this a while ago as well. In fact, in 2015, Priyanka Chopra was mistaken as another brown actress by the name of Mia, and someone had tweeted that to her, and this is back in 2015, 2 years ago. Even Priyanka had written, no, not all brown women look the same.
All right.
So this is ignorance. Racism stems from ignorance, and I will have to stick to the fact that mistaken identity once, but how many times?
Fair enough. I'm just arguing for the sake of
needs to become more open.
No, fair enough. Priya, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you that racism begins at ignorance, and there is no dearth of racists anywhere in the world, especially in the US. Completely agree with you there.
Even
Let's
in
take two
India,
callers.
I have been called Veena Malik just because we both have similar surnames, and we have both done the show Big Boss. So it exists everywhere, happens everywhere.
All right, fair enough. But would you call that racism, though?
I called it ignorance in the first story. There was an article in the newspaper with my picture, but it said Veena Malik. I did not call it racism because Veena and I had the exact same...
That's exactly what I mean. You can call it moronic, you can call it idiotic, you can call it ignorant, but in your particular case, you wouldn't call it
ignorance
racism.
at that time.
All right. Let's get two callers in.
Had I been in Deepika's place, I would have understood.
All right, let's get two callers in. Rajpal from Mumbai, Mr. Sahani from Delhi. Go ahead, Rajpal.
Mr. Khan,
yes.
It could have happened inadvertently, because I have been to America recently. I go there sometime, but I don't find racism there. Once they know that you are from India...
Well, that's just not true, Rajpal. No, that's just not true. There's rampant racism in the US. There's rampant racism in the US. Despite having a black president, they are bubbling under the surface, with race relations being perhaps the most dominant topic in the US and their discourse right now. But I do thank you for calling in, Rajpal. Mr. Sani from Delhi, go ahead.
Atul, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Sani, go ahead.
Yeah, you see, let's not think from a celebrity point of view, but just think as from a layman's point of view also.
Yeah.
Because it is more of ignorance and more of naive, these people are, the paparazzi. They see Priyanka more on the tube, on the TV.
Yeah.
The face is more popular.
Yes.
I'll give you a very small example. I'm a Sikh. I tie a turban. If I go to some remote areas of Greece or Europe or Eastern Europe, they call me Taliban. Because they've seen Taliban more on TV, than a Sikh. So it is just that. They are naive and they are ignorant.
Okay.
There is nothing racist about it.
All right. Thank you for calling in, Mr. Sani. We'll take a short break at this point. When we come back, we'll speak a bit more to Priya Malik and Leher Sethi. We're discussing whether or not Deepika Padukone is absolutely right when she says that they should call out what she calls is blatant racism when people mistake her for Priyanka Chopra, or is there some truth to the fact that Priyanka Chopra is many more times more popular currently and is known to American audiences and the press, and Deepika is not yet? Is there any truth to that? Let's go across to our next caller, Uma from Delhi. Go ahead, Uma.
It is sheer lack of professionalism and get away with a casual attitude. you can call an Indian by any name and you can get away with that, is that the attitude of the person. And that's how, otherwise, if you're a true professional, you would work on the name, pronunciation, everything, etc. It's just the casual attitude and the lack of professionalism.
All right. Uma, thank you for calling in, but nobody really said that paparazzi were the best of due diligence or did display any due diligence at all. We're talking about paparazzis, remember, not serious journalists. Bhaskar from Assam is our next caller. Go ahead, Bhaskar.
Good evening, Atir.
Hi, my name is Athar. If I was Deepika Padukone, I would have made an issue out of it, but go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I want to make a single point out here is that this kind of rampant racism is happening in the days of yoga. But I perhaps would take the side of the Deepika Padukone, take the likes of Deepika Padukone or Priyanka Chopra, who has done tremendous work in outside India, and there is sense of xenophobia in the West. This is there is a kind of xenophobia in the West which needs to be addressed at the shortest possible time, or else we have to get united with this kind of racism. There is a blatant racism in the country, particularly from the northeast.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yes.
India discriminates between people from the northeast, and they of course call them all sorts of names. There is racism in India as well. I agree with you, Bhaskar. Completely agree with you there. Thank you for calling in. Nilanjana Chakrabarti joins the panel right now. Nilanjana, what is your take on this issue? Deepika has a point when she says that it could be perceived as racist, and I agree with Priya Malik when she says an element of racism does exist. But could it not be the case that somebody just mistook her for Priyanka Chopra, who is just a slightly bigger star currently in Hollywood? Deepika is not at that level right now. Let's just face facts.
No, I think it's a very, very clear case of racism, and let's not give any kind of a benefit of the doubt on this issue, because Deepika, what I heard, the kind of statement that she has made, it's very, very clear from what she has said, is that it is an element of racial racism, but in a different garb. You know, it's not always the obvious way, the way it is done, because they really cannot say anything to her the way they do it for a common man, because she's a star. They all know it. She's done films with Vin Diesel, and of course Priyanka Chopra is a huge star, and they're both making waves internationally. So how on earth, and they're attending all the awards, the recent awards that they had gone to, so how can they make such a big mistake?
All right.
So it is but natural that it is to denigrate them, it is to bring them down, it is to actually show that, we are not bothered, and that, hey, you down there kind of an attitude. But my question here is that if they were not good enough, would the West have accepted them? That is the issue. So I think not only the media, the Indian media and the media otherwise, if they are impartial, that is,
okay,
and the residents, the NRIs in
Nilanjana,
America,
I have many questions on that. I have many questions
clear
on that, and I don't completely subscribe to what you're saying right now about the part when you said where the West had to accept them. What's the need for Deepika Padukone or Priyanka Chopra to be accepted by the West in the first place? But that's a different debate. Please stay with us. Professor Ram from Gurgaon is the next caller. Go ahead, Professor Ram.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Mr. Akhtar, you should not be wasting your time on such triviality. You're too good an anchor. Shouldn't you be worrying about Shabuddin and Lalu, which is a much... This is idiotic. I mean, sometimes I've also mistaken her. What's the big deal? They're ignorant people, the Americans.
Well, Professor Ram, I thank you for the backhanded compliment, and also the fact that the other story we're not doing today, but we are doing stories that we think are worth our while, and people want to know and viewers want to know. But thank you for calling in, Professor Ram. We have to thank our guests at this point, because we do have to go across to some more breaking news coming.